even in Germany. This is being politicized. To me, it's pretty simple. A man who was a Muslim, intent of plowing into people and trying to kill Christians, but it also could be a man. I can't understand what the other motive would be, so I'll keep my eye on it. But the protesters are frustrated because this is a migrant. This is somebody who is claiming refugee status. In that area, Germany, France, even as far up as Sweden, these migrants have worked their way up, whether it's through the Mediterranean, whether it's through the Middle East, and up. And there's been a lot of problems. But because of politics, no one wanted to talk about it. In the Great Hall, Winchester, Hampshire, England, there are people demanding refunds for the Santa Claus that was at this location. But people are demanding refunds. Matthew Fernandez was actually the one that was spoken to, and he said Santa had a blatantly fake beard. Never seen that before. Fair enough, give him a pass there. He had a very cheap red suit, so Santa was slumming it this year. I'm not sure what designer makes Santa suits that Matthew Fernandez preferred, but whatever this one was not it. He said he wasn't talkative, he wasn't jovial. Well, that's unacceptable, I agree. Welcome to Stay in the Gray podcast. We explore news that gets people talking by blending comedy and controversy.
The banner, feel the word, shadow screams Butthurt.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Trey. Together we dive into tough topics with a combination of humor and some insight.
So join us as we navigate the gray areas of the world and engaging in real conversation.
Come get to know us.
All right. Hey, guys. Hey, everybody. Going to be a good show. Feeling it. Feeling the vibe. Trying to work it. Midday. Another midday show. Coffee in hand. Tempted to put some Bailey's Irish cream in there, but I did not. So be proud. I know my liver thanks me. Today's show is going to be like all the rest. You know, people are going to take it. They're going to be butthurt by it. Some are going to completely agree and understand. But listen through to the end. If anything starts to frustrate you, listen. Trust me, there's an ending to this that just seems to make too much sense. And I haven't talked about this topic ever in our 100 and something episodes and 3.5 seasons. And there's a reason for it, and it's one of the topics that I feel like needs to be discussed more, but everybody's so on edge about it that you just never know, and that's religion. And so we'll do a little bit of a discussion about that. As you can see, I'm decked out in my festive Christmas sweater, albeit it is a Pittsburgh Penguins hockey team Christmas sweater. It counts. Go Pens. But I thought I'd get a little festive because this will be released on Christmas Eve afternoon. So I thought it fitting that we talk a little bit about religion, organized religion, spirituality, and of course an event that happened that, of course, downplays all those things. But first, let's go with our opening headline that made it past editing. This one says, kicking baby considered to be healthy. See what they did there? If your baby's in the womb and it's kicking, it's healthy. Not actually kicking a baby, people. So do I need to tell you not to kick your baby? If I do, then you're probably at the right show. You know, this list I have prefaces by saying, you know, all the rigorous things that an editor and that a writer has to go through before publication. And it's almost like they're saying, you know, this is the whole point of talking about it. So it is funny. Let's go to Butthurt comments, and woo boy, I got a dandy. People are so riled up about the notion that I have a problem with everybody shouting, free this, free that, universal health care. Oh, let's just do it, and do it by taxing the rich. Why do people have such a problem with me saying that? You cannot steal property from people, our own citizens. You can't steal. And by giving them a 70% tax rate and everybody else a 15% tax rate, you're stealing. This is not Robin Hood. You cannot take from our wealthy and redistribute it, especially when you're doing frivolous spending on fucking monkey research, which we talked about. So, of course, the Butthurt comment for this show came from, I'm calling her Beth because to her credit, it's a clever handle. It's actually Be the Change 04. So I'm not sure what was happening in 04. Maybe that was, I think that was GW's second run. George W. Bush, not George Washington. Second run, and then maybe she was not liking him or whatever. But the first four letters are Beth, so I call her Beth. Wouldn't it be a coincidence if her name were, in fact, Beth? But anyway, Beth, she went off on me because I commented on the following quote. And I'm not sure if I'll put it up there for you to see, but you don't really need to see it. It was from some random lady who looks so pleasant in her profile picture. And she said, under capitalism, it's normal to let children go hungry. Banks force people out of their homes. Let the sick people die for lack of access to health care. But the idea that billionaires could just be less rich, not poor, not struggling, just less rich, is considered insane. I'm not going to go through this again because there's a whole show dedicated to it. Go check it out. It's just about the idea of free and this and that. But the only thing I said to this was that by taxing the wealthy, this is not what our country is. Our country is about prosperity. It's about hard work. It's about being able to thrive. The American dream, having goals. If my goal is to work my ass off, make all this money so that I can support a family and anybody that's done this, support a family, have generational wealth, have these things set up, enjoy the things in life because you work your ass off, and you're going to punish that. Well, guess what? That morale is going to go away. Those goals are going to go away. People are going to go, well, why am I doing this? I'm just getting punished. Sorry, I get riled up. But what they don't understand is that there are plenty of people out there that are voluntarily helping out. I do. People do. All over the place. You cannot make it mandatory. You cannot force it. And that's all I'm saying with this structure. It's just so stupid. You're guilting people into this idea that capitalism is the reason for poverty, is the reason for the poor, is the reason that we have a homeless problem. Banks kicking people out of their homes. No, it's because people are over purchasing and buying homes they shouldn't. You see it all the time. So people, unfortunately, get kicked out of their homes. This is people, again, not wanting to take responsibility for themselves. I'll admit that there are things I've done that I need to take responsibility for that weren't the right decision. But you learn, you move forward, you go on. But you don't sit here and say, oh, well, we'll just take money from the rich and we'll be fine. I suggested that the government spend less frivolously. And what I mean by that is we talked about it, millions on monkey research, and I'm sure there are tons of other animals. I want to know about the animals too, everybody. I think it's neat, but I also want to help people. And why? What's more important, stealing from our citizens or watching some monkeys in the forest? When we're able to afford helping our citizens and watching monkeys in the forest, let's do it. I'm all for it. Make that a goal of our government. So this idea got me fired up, and I made a comment. And so all of a sudden you get Beth, Be the Change, and some other douchebag that I don't even want to bring him up. He's one of those trolls that just kind of keep saying, yeah, keep getting mad. And I'm like, well, I'm not mad. Oh yeah, keep getting mad. And it's just like, I literally wasn't getting mad. I was just kind of like, you're adding nothing here, and that's fine. It's interaction. What these people don't understand is that algorithms like interaction. So keep going. Anyway, so Beth started in on me pretty heavy. How dare you? You don't care about people. You know, all these accusations, and I'm not going to. There were literally like 25. When we had a discussion, and it wasn't that productive at all because she wasn't able to comprehend. She wasn't reading. Once these people have decided that they're on defense, it's like they don't read. They just use talking points. They make assumptions. They take little bits of your sentence. I'm feeling how Donald's felt for the entire world, taking little bits of your sentences and trying to twist it into different context. And I'm not okay with that. So I'll read you the last one that she put, and this is kind of the one. So Beth basically ended up saying, well, the first thing that I thought was hilarious was she's going to play her victim card right away. And sadly, I believe this is a black woman. So, if you want to tie that in, you can. If you want to call me a racist for pointing that out, you can. Whatever. These days, that's what everybody's doing. But she told me, and this kind of was my last straw, so I'll reverse it. The last straw for me was she told me that there was a guy on the thread who said the same thing that she's saying, but I took him seriously and said it was a good talking point. I went back. There's nothing like that anywhere. I asked her to literally let me know what that was, and she had nothing. She claims she did, but I mean, I'm not seeing it. I'm literally not seeing it. And I really looked for it because that's bullshit. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You're making this judgment. You're like slandering my character, calling me a sexist when you have nothing. And it's this victim mindset. I'm a woman. I'm surprised she didn't play the race card. Not sure why she didn't. But so she quotes me. She uses a bunch of my quotes, and I'll go through them very, very quickly. She's saying, I'm presenting myself in an unflattering way, but you're mad when you're getting called out. Well, again, I don't think I did, but okay, I wasn't mad. And I didn't present myself in an unflattering way by commenting on a post on Instagram. There was no name calling. There was nothing like that. So I'm not sure what she's talking about just because she didn't like what I had to say. And I misquoted you. You said, she tried to tell me that I said people were lazy. No, I said there is no drive anymore. So she corrected herself, to her credit. Having no drive to be innovative, having no drive to reach the top, having no drive to make millions. Those things are different than being lazy. Being lazy is just being lazy. Having no drive anymore is because there is no reward at the finish line, like there should be, and like this country is about. So me saying there's no drive is a completely different. To say that I'm calling everybody lazy is not true. Some people are, but to say that that's my generalization is just stupid. How do you expect people to take that? Maybe look inward, buddy. So she buddied me, first off, and second off, look inward. What did I possibly say that makes me seem lazy? There are days when I don't feel like doing anything. Does that make me lazy overall? Whatever. Anyway, I did literally quote your response to the gentleman. So if you can't see your bias, you have a lot of reflecting that needs to happen. And if me pointing out that you did this makes you feel like I'm saying you embody sexism, then that's a takeaway you should examine. This isn't a specific one that I wanted to bring up. Here it is. But that's here's more examples. So here are the quotes. Let me quote some of your stuff. People want free stuff. That's true. How is this? How are you attacking my character by claiming that people want free stuff? That's all I'm hearing. Free education. That's shouted from the rooftops. Universal health care. That means free to people. It's not, but that's what it means to the people shouting for it. So stupid that you would say, let's go to the third one. I think asking billionaires to pay the government set tax guidelines that are currently in place is stealing from the rich. Again, I was about to call you a dumbass, Beth, but I won't. A flat tax for everyone means the billionaires are paying a shitload more than anybody else. It's called a flat tax. It's fair. It's just. That's how we need to do it. And no way was I saying we should alter anything and give I don't like loopholes in the corporations. I agree with that. I know that that's a big issue with everybody. Heaven forbid we have corporations that funnel and provide jobs and help the economy in any way. But I get what you're saying. Okay. But I'm asking for a flat tax, and I'm saying that 70%, which is some of these things I'm hearing, even 60, even 50, versus these 10 to 12 to 15% for everybody else. Percent. This is percent. It's very, very, very simple. A flat percentage means if you make more, you pay more. If you make less, you pay less. That seems fair. Why is that bad? Why are you so against being wealthy? Is it jealousy? I don't know. If there was absolutely no other solution in the world, maybe we could talk a little bit about it, tax them a little higher. But there are things in the world. There's accountability. Number one, everybody's got an opportunity to go out and do what they need to do. And second off, I think our government should be doing a lot better with the handling of its money, mainly this administration. We'll see how the new administration does here in a little less than a month. It is under a month now, isn't it? The last one. This is the problem, and I'm going on a little long about this, but this is the problem. Reading comprehension. If you're going to comment to something that I've said or something that I've written, you need to really comprehend what I'm saying. And this is so not even close that I can say this confidently. This isn't like there was just this little misinterpretation that I maybe my sentence structure was off. It wasn't. She's claiming that I was referring to frivolous spending. What I was meaning by frivolous spending was helping the poor. That is horseshit, Beth. Nowhere did I say frivolous spending was helping the poor. That is a big, huge accusation that you simply got wrong because you can't comprehend what I was saying. No, I said that we need to help people by reducing frivolous spending, like monkey research, like billion-dollar buildings that are billions of dollars, not just a billion, billions of dollars into these buildings that were abandoned overseas that we were going to put into. Money that we've been sending to Ukraine, hundreds of billions to Ukraine, Israel, all of the places that we're sending all this money. You don't think that would lower, at least help the cost of education? Help payment, make things cheaper on the medical level? Nowhere did I say that frivolous spending is helping the poor. Give me a break. And that's where I was out. I mean, at that point, I mean, if someone's going to unintentionally slander me because they don't comprehend basic English, I'm out. No more discussion. So that was about her comment, the long version. But hers was an example of kind of like what I'm getting in this topic. It's just this defense mechanism for people that are poor. Well, if you think that, there are assholes out there, but if you think that so many people, that everyone, screw the poor, it's just dumb. It's not the case. You can be wealthy and care about the poor. There are plenty of wealthy people that I know who give and give and give and give, but you can't take it from their pockets without them being okay with it. And that's all I'm saying. So let's move on from about her comments. That was the long version. Beth, good luck to you in your quest to help the poor by yelling at everybody else. Oh yeah, let me do my fling of my notes here. Oh my goodness. All right. Coffee break, and let's go to news. Sorry, need another sip. It's been a long morning / afternoon. This is coming out on Christmas Eve, and so I hope everybody is, by this point, hearing this, enjoying your time, trying to relax. It's very difficult. I've been talking about that with everybody, with my wife. It's just hard to relax when you're supposed to be relaxing. There's so much to do, so many people to see. When you come from, both of us have divorced parents, so we've got 4 places to go, and it could be a movie. And I know there were movies made like that, but so I hope everybody's good. And we'll go from there. Let's do some news. First, speaking of, we'll talk about Santa Claus in the Great Hall, Winchester, Hampshire, England. It's a lot of city names. There are people demanding refunds for the Santa Claus that was at this location, and apparently every year it's a big deal in this Great Hall, and it's festive and it's kind of known. And so, for people to be upset about Santa's performance, if you will, is not a weird thing. It wasn't like some random restaurant or store or something where Santa was pretending to be. By the way, any of my kid listeners, cover your ears now if you're probably below the ages of about 8. But people are demanding refunds. Matthew Fernandez was actually the one that was spoken to, and he said Santa had a blatantly fake beard. I've never seen that before. Fair enough, give him a pass there. He had a very cheap red suit, so Santa was slumming it this year. I'm not sure what designer makes Santa suits that Matthew Fernandez preferred, but whatever this one was not it. He said he wasn't talkative, he wasn't jovial. Well, that's unacceptable. I agree. You can't have an unjovial Santa. Then he needs to probably talk to the children. But he said his experience was ruined. The kids were in tears. He had 3 children with him. They were in tears. Said they knew that Santa wasn't real now, that Santa was fake. Or at least that one was fake. I'm not sure how Matthew remedied that with the kiddos, but I'm sure that if he gives them presents, they'll be okay. I just thought it was funny that how bad can a Santa be to get this kind of publicity? I mean, I just picture this guy just like sit there, just looking like a drunk, just kind of like, oh, this sucks. But man, it must have been bad. But the Hampshire Cultural Trust offered refunds to anybody who had been. I'm not sure that everybody kept their documentation that they were there, but good luck in getting your refund. Move on. There's a woman in Chongqing, China. She won a grand prize of $1,380, so $1,380, after not using her phone for 1 hour. There's a local business that put together something called a Public Welfare Challenge. And in this challenge, the spotlight was on smartphone addiction, which I'm all supportive of in observing. The winner showed up in jammies, and she had to lie perfectly still without any distractions. No movies, no books, no anything. Just lay there for an hour. She was the only one out of 10 people that was able to do that without getting up because of restlessness. So she I guess it was, I don't know if there was a pot that they threw some cash in, but $1,380 exactly was the grand prize. So good for her. And I am disturbed that 9 out of 10 couldn't do it. I think I could lay there, maybe take a nap. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. Do you have to stay awake and stare at something? Or I would think more so that everybody should be required to have a conversation for 1 hour, eye to eye, without texting. But we'll move on. This one's a good one. And it's about flat earthers. And I'm one of those guys that, of course, likes to have an open mind. I've told you that. I want to have conversations. My colleague, Joe Rogan, does the same. I know he's all into the alien thing. I'm not quite there yet, but I could be. I'd like to listen to people talk about it. I'm not sure I'm on board with just how adamant he is that there's all this different life. There's got to be something else, though, right? I want to believe. Make me believe, Joe. Keep doing it. But flat Earth, those people, come on. I mean, you can literally get on an airplane, and I don't know about their gas, but you could get on an airplane and fly to the same spot you left without landing, going in the same direction. And I guess you could sit here and analyze that and say, well, they turned and then we didn't know it. But it's just unbelievable to me that this is still even a thing. I mean, the conspiracies behind it. I could do a whole show on it. Government is using illusions to make us believe this. Why would they do that? Who gives a shit? If it was flat, they'd say it was flat. What's the goal of us being a sphere? Of it being a globe? What would that benefit people from keeping it secret? No one can find out that we're on a big ball. Because if they found out, who cares? So there's some flat earthers from Colorado, and this is called The Final Experiment. And it was I don't know, famous, but up there he's a known flat earther pastor named Will Duffy. And he ended up, he was going to invite a bunch of people, but he was this was being paid for through this program, and I don't know how if they raised funds for it, but you had 3 flat earthers that ended up going, and 15 globe believers, or whatever they call them, which is pretty funny that they have a name for the 99.8% of the people in the world. And they went to go see the midnight sun, is what they call it, and watch it disappear in the middle of the Antarctic summer, if you will, when that hemisphere and that pole is facing the sun and you have sunlight all day, every day. And they didn't believe it. So we're going to go to the end of the earth, southern pole, and watch the sun disappear, and we'll all cheer and prove this. I can't believe this actually was a thing, honestly. My question immediately is, why don't you just call somebody that's in the north part, or some workers down there, and ask them to take footage? Maybe they wanted to see it for themselves. I don't know. But the sun was, in fact, there. It did not set, as most of you watching have predicted. There was no discovery. There was no celebration. I imagine the boat was pretty downtrodden, although 15 of them were the globalists who were probably just like, yeah, thanks for the trip to Antarctica, so we could say we've been here. But for those that fell asleep in 6th grade, the Earth is tilted at 23 degrees, and during the solstices, one pole points away from the sun, and one pole points toward the sun. And if the Earth was flat, that wouldn't happen. So that's what they're saying. I just wanted to give you a little bit in case you were confused by what they were trying to see. This is the best part of the whole thing. They sat for, well, the quotes are pretty good. I'll give you some quotes. They sat for 5 days and waited because tonight is the night. No, okay, tonight it's going to happen. And finally, the following was said. Sometimes you're just wrong, said a dejected flat earther on the ship. However, of course, there's always going to be somebody with a different viewpoint. This flat earther said, I don't think this falsifies flat earth. I don't think it proves there's a globe. I think it's just a singular data point that they'll use. It's a pretty significant data point, my friend. But you do you, and I will enjoy. Look, I would love to see some more projects of these people trying to prove this. I mean, I got to admire that kind of passion, that kind of belief, which will lead me to religion in a second. But anyway, I had written down that the publication had asked why wouldn't they just make a phone call and find out for themselves, get some video camera. But instead, they paid for a very expensive trip. Flat Earth people, come on. There are other conspiracies that at least make sense, or at least could be a possibility. This one's kind of hard. The thing that got me is they said it started back in the 19th century, 18th century, one of the two. Back before phones and cameras and airplanes and space travel, things like that. Yeah, it'd be easier to believe back then. Okay, I can see that. It was harder to get to this point in Antarctica. But now, pretty sure you need to move on from this one and just join with the facts and science. All right, let's get to it. That was news. Let's get to this because I've already gone long, so I'm going to have to go quickly with this, which I don't want to do, but it needs to be talked about. So, car attack in Germany, in Magdeburg, which I believe is about 80 miles west of Berlin, I believe is what I read. I did not write it down. Great note-taking on my part. 200 were injured, 5 were killed. One of them was a 9-year-old girl. 4 were adults. I care about them too, but it makes me really, really sad when a child dies for something like this. So it was just a regular evening at the Christmas market, which is every year in this area and in many towns in Germany, many towns here, many towns in Scotland where I live. Glasgow, Scotland has an amazing one in city center every year. This is a custom for Christmas by Christians. And so there was a man who took a BMW and drove it straight into the marketplace, plowing through everybody. And again, 200 injured. Many are critical. Not many, but 15 to 20, and that's too many. He was 50 years old, and he's a doctor from Saudi Arabia. His name was Taleb Al-Mohsen. Al-Mohsen, I believe, is how... I'm not sure, but that's close enough. For a while, Germany, the publications weren't allowed to release that, but I think it's been a few days, and they have, in fact, done it. He was a refugee, claimed refugee status, and they finally granted that status in 2016, but he arrived in 2006 as a refugee. And the irony in all this is that his specialty as a doctor is psychiatry. Anyway, the problem here is, of course, immediately you look at it and you go, all right, this is a Christmas market, and this is obviously a Muslim man, correct? There's some iffiness there because some of his social media posts have been more anti-Islam, have been more, we need to be careful about the Islamization of Germany. There's also have been jihad reporters that have said, hey, when is this going to end? Who have looked into this further. So there's kind of this back and forth. He says he used to be a Muslim, claims he's not. Why would you drive your car into a Christmas market with the aim to kill people, if not for religious purposes? I mean, it could have been just like it was a big event, but he coincided it with the Christmas bells that go off, and I think it was 7:04. I'm not sure the significance of the time or exactly the bells, but they were Christmas bells, and so he timed it that way, or it was just a huge coincidence. I'm thinking it was the former. But the Saudi government expressed solidarity with Germany, and they said they tried to warn Germany about this exact guy in 2023, last year. I'm not sure. Again, that's all coming out as we speak. But keep your eye on that. That's interesting that Saudi Arabia, if true, knew something that Germany didn't when you've got this migrant in your country. But Germany has a huge history, Islam extremists. They have a lot of stabbings in the name of Allah for Muslim extremists. They've had cars plow into people before. They had the known one is 2016, I believe, where a big van did that, and I'm not sure the name of the town, but this isn't like a first-time thing over there. So people are pissed. German citizens are pissed. I would be. I know there are American citizens that are getting pissed off just at protests / riots, our statues being, vandalized, our flag being ripped down for a Palestine flag. These things we're pissed about. Well, how about this? So protests have broken out. Heaven forbid their own country protests what's going on. I'm trying to figure out a way to explain this without immediately pissing everybody off. But even in Germany, and I say even, it doesn't surprise me, this is being politicized. To me, it's pretty simple. A man who was a Muslim, if he, this could very well be something to throw people off, as he posted, pretended to be this way, and then with the intent of plowing into people and trying to kill Christians. But it also could be a man. I can't understand what the other motive would be, so I'll keep my eye on it. But the protesters are frustrated because this is a migrant. This is somebody who was claiming refugee status. And anybody that has looked into this issue, like I have, in that area, Germany, France, even as far up as Sweden, these migrants have worked their way up, whether it's through the Mediterranean, whether it's through the Middle East, and up. And there's been a lot of problems, but because of politics, no one wanted to talk about it. Well, people are starting to talk about it, and more. People are starting to get out there. But what I'm pissed about, and it's the same thing as before with Daniel Penny, Jordan Neely case, this is being politicized. And every protester out there is all of a sudden the far right. Anybody that has an issue with this is the far right. Nobody else has an issue with it. Nobody else is questioning refugee status and the process and maybe readdressing it and just talking about it and trying to figure out a better way. Why is this happening? Is there a vetting system that can be better than what it has been? Is there a way to find signs that people are willing to do this? You do not need to be far right to want to question the process. But no, all of these publications, only the far right, those assholes, we're fine with all the refugees coming in and killing people. We're fine with that. People will argue, well, people in Germany hurt people also. Well, why add to it? Let's deal with our own citizens. Same in the United States. We have huge violence issues, but why would we want to add to that? It's one of the dumbest arguments I've heard. Everyone's upset about the gangs coming in illegally, but what about our own people killing? Well, let's deal with that too. But that doesn't mean I want any more. I even went as far as to look up and read Al Jazeera. I read Reuters. I refuse to read MSNBC anymore. They're a joke. I'll read CNN just because they're probably closest to the line, but I want to see this perspective. I don't think I even read Fox News on this, people, so get off my back. But Al Jazeera was where I was hoping to go and get some non-bias, and I was disappointed. They're the ones that made these claims. The far right is rallying against migration. Only the far right, though. I understand Al Jazeera can put out opinion pieces, but I don't think this was one of them. I'm calling you out, Al Jazeera. I'm not sure you give a fuck, but I'm still saying I didn't see anywhere on there that this was an opinion piece. I didn't even look to see who wrote it, but you're publishing it. And to say this, far right, this false rhetoric is going to continue to cause problems. I thought it was just our own country, but apparently something like this happens in Germany, and it's still the far right. Let's blame the far right. Look, in my mind, the far right are a bunch of assholes, but it's like 100 people. When you say the far right, I've said it now 37 times. The far right is not right wing. The far right is not independents like myself who voted for Donald Trump. The far right, they're not people who can look at this situation and say, man, we need to talk about this. We need to figure something out. Let's see what's going on. How does that make you far right? Define far right is, I guess, what I'm saying. And Al Jazeera threw this in there. I think it was APR was the other one. There are a couple of them that, and of course some small publications that nobody gives a shit about. We're saying these types of things. Most publications were trying to be neutral. But again, the biggest thing with these publications that I have a problem with were these types of things. Children and people with migration background history are scared to be in the streets with these protests. What about the citizens? They're the ones that should be scared to be in the fucking streets. They're getting run over by cars, okay? You're scared to be in the street. They're making it out. They're victimizing a group of people when nothing's happened to them. This isn't like somebody took a car and rammed it through a mosque during one of their 5 times of worship a day. This is something that happened to them. They're protesting, and now they're going to victimize the people that are afraid to go outside. I don't know, stand up and tell people of like mind to stop doing this shit. I don't see Jewish people. We can talk about Israeli government if you want, that's different. But I don't see these individual Jewish people driving into mosques. I don't see Christian people attacking Islamic, and I'm sure it happens on a low level. I get it from all sides. I get it. But you don't hear this kind of stuff. There's not jihad against our Christian version of jihad happening right now. Tell me that there is. I haven't seen it. Again, government and war and all of these things, that's a whole different ball. I'm talking about these individual attacks, these people that take it upon themselves, that are somehow making their way into these countries and killing people in the name of Allah. Again, I've said it. I'm not sure that this gentleman is that, but it's sure looking like it. Give me another motive. Fortunately, he's alive. Maybe they can get another motive that makes sense. I say fortunately. Usually in these cases, I don't like them alive, but hey, maybe I want to hear what he has to say. But this is the last part. And this, well, it's not the last part, but it's the last part right now. This guy, he's a professor in the Netherlands. And you knew this was going to happen, or I knew it was going to happen. And I'm super fired up about it, of course. You cannot, well, you can because you did, but you sound like an idiot. You cannot possibly find a way. I tried to convince myself that nobody, I wasn't going to read this. I wasn't going to see this out there. But sure enough, some douchebag in the Netherlands said, we need to be careful with things like this, stories like this, especially now that Donald Trump has been elected and will be running the United States and probably the world, dude. First off, get over it. And second off, there is absolutely no way to connect what happened in that night, people being frustrated with Germany's process, to Donald Trump and the people who voted for him. Are you saying that there are 70 to 80 million people in this country, in the United States alone, who everybody that cast a vote for Donald Trump has Islamophobia and wants to hurt Muslims. Really? How about they stop doing this type of stuff and you have nothing else to write about? That's what I'm cheering for. So I stopped right there because I was just disgusted by it. it just the Donald Trump stuff is some guy in the Netherlands thinks he understands American politics enough to call out Donald Trump and his voters. It's not what mainstream media is saying. This isn't some sort of, it is to a point, some sort of shit show. But there is real politics. Are real politics involved? This isn't a personality contest. This is an oh no. I feel like we're doing this every time Donald Trump is in an election. This country spoke loud and clear, and probably louder and clearer than it appeared, which we've been through before. And it is not just about Donald Trump versus the world. It is about policy. It is about things like this that are happening. It is about our country being essentially invaded. Free for all. If you want to invade, come across. That's going to stop, along with a ton of other issues that our federal government should have been taking care of and wasn't taking care of. So let me move on. And the last thing I'll say tonight, I know the show's just a little bit longer, but I had a lot to say. A lot of it was about the Butthurt comment, Beth, or whatever her name was. The reason I'm frustrated by this is because I am questioning this guy's motives. I am questioning Muslims versus Christians versus Jews versus our Muslim extremists is different than Jewish and Christian extremists. I literally just said, I said you're seeing a lot of that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's stuff going on that we don't hear about. But in my opinion, in 2024, of the three religions, it seems like the extremism comes from the Muslims the most, and that their goal is to eliminate the others. That is an extreme point of view. Let me make that clear. The extremists from that religion, their goal is to eliminate people of other faith. And that's just not a good thing. The Christians tried to do it back in the day, a long time ago. I think it was 1080, the Crusades. Poor Jews, I don't think they've tried to do anything except kill Jesus. Other than that, I don't think they've had their crusades or their jihads. And they're still probably the worst treated people in the world. Not the government of Israel. I'm talking about just Jews in general. Anti-Semitism. I have to clarify everything with you people. Let's talk about the three main religions. Because the reason I haven't talked about religion is because it's so touchy. More people have died in the name of God than any other reason. And I don't like that. I don't like something that should be special, something that should guide us to greatness, guide us to be compassionate, to be caring, to be all of those terms, all those labels, to be considerate. I'll keep going. That is what religion should be. It should be inspirational. It should be something that allows inner peace. And it got me thinking about the three main religions that we're talking about here: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Just to let you know, Judaism was established about 1800 BC, clearly the oldest of the three. Christians were next, which was, of course, I'll just say 1 century AD, happened at 0. Actually happened after the resurrection, I believe, is when they technically claimed Christianity began. Islam, I've been taught 610 or 622, depending on how you view it, when Muhammad actually reached Mecca, etc., etc. But let's talk about the similarities. All believe in one God. Simple enough. Monotheism. That's a big one. There are a lot of religions that don't. A lot of religions believe in other crazy stuff, which is interesting to me. My phone, I apologize for all the vibration. I promise I don't have a dildo under my desk. All of the three trace lineage back to Abraham, to one guy, father of the Jews. All three. All use the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. All three use the first 5 books of the Bible. Common themes between the three: sacrifice, good work, hospitality, peace, justice, pilgrimage, and the afterlife. Other things including fasting, charity, even the greeting, something about peace being with you, is all three greet the same way. Let's talk about the differences. Are they really that different? Do you believe in one prophet versus another? And so all of a sudden, the Jews had many messengers, okay? Christians, Jesus, Son of God, the prophet, okay? We all know these things, but for some reason, it needs to be said again. Islam, Muhammad is considered the seal of all the prophets. So he basically was the guy. There were a bunch of prophets, but he was the guy. They even claimed Jesus was a prophet, but he wasn't the guy. Again, Jews with the Torah, Christians with the Bible, mainly the New Testament, and then of course Islam with the Quran. I think I pronounced that correctly. And all of these things have so many similarities. Again, the first 5 books in all of them are the same. The same. Jews have synagogues, Christians have churches, Islam, mosques. It's basically three different ways to say the same fucking thing. A place to worship. Baptism, communion, prayer, that's Christian. But it's kind of the same with the pillars of Islam. 5 times a day they pray, fasting, similar to Lent. The pilgrimage to Mecca, these are all Islam. But it's all forms of the same thing. The interesting one to me was that Christians trace Adam and Eve for the reason for sin, that whole story. I won't tell you it. You know it. Islam, they just believe that humans are weak and that's what causes sin. Okay, fair enough. The question is, and I'll end it here, why are we fucking killing each other over these 3 religions? And why have we been for a long time? There doesn't seem to be a lot of difference there. According to friends of mine who are Muslim, if I was in the wrong area and there were some Muslim extremists and I said something negative about Islam or disagreed with them, they might try and kill me. I know in this country there are extreme Christians. A lot of people say that the KKK is an extreme. I don't know enough about those guys and girls, that they would harm others, Jews. Why aren't we killing each other over this? Why is this, this Middle East deal is religious backed? It's kind of not. I mean, is someone, besides screaming Allah Akbar and the things that you hear the terrorists scream, are people, are the Jewish people really like firing missiles going, oh, this is for Jews? It's become that because of other circumstances. What happened to individual spirituality? What happened to somebody feeling their religion and not having it be told to you by somebody else or taught to you by a book? What happened to a lot of the Christians say, ask Jesus into your heart, but then they tell you to do it. You have to. This is the issue with organized religion today. Again, I would die to sit here, pun intended, I hate to say that. I would love to sit here and have different religions in this studio and talk about it. How do you feel when this happens? How do you feel when this happens? How were you brought up? What are your worship services like? What are your holidays like? Let's learn. But instead, you have these extreme groups and these people that are just willing to just turn on another human being because of who they believe the prophet was. Muhammad is better than Jesus, so fuck you. Jesus is all everything, so fuck everybody else. I've been told that it just is because it is. Why do you think these things? You think these things are? It just is. I understand blind faith, but at the same time, you can't look at everybody else and necessarily expect the same. And that's where I'll end. Man, I could go on, and this show is a little longer, so I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope, let me know if you want to hear more. If you want to have me have some, like I said, I have plenty of friends in all religions, all races and creeds. And I would love to have some Muslim friends on. I'd love to have some Jewish friends on. And talk religion. It's an important one, but I think it's one when it comes to politics and government and the things that have been going on in this world, it's just one that kind of takes a back seat right now. The atheism is picking up, and that's fine. But why? Why is it now? What are the reasons for it? And those are the things I love to talk about. So like and subscribe. We're rolling. Trying to get this out so that you guys have something on Christmas to listen to. Maybe escape the family if you need about almost an hour. If you need an hour, get it away. If you need 30 minutes, listen to this, click on it. And maybe you'll have something to talk about at the dinner table with your family. So, love you guys. And I will end this with an anonymous quote. And it's not from the Bible. It could be. It's not from anything, but it seemed like it covered it all. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. Nothing about specifics, nothing about prophets, nothing about which religion this is. One God, strength, inner strength, trust. This can apply to every single person in the world without turning on each other and thinking it might mean something different. All right, have a Merry Christmas, everybody, and I'll see you after.